One of the best internet rabbit holes that you can go down is that of the conspiracy theory. For example, it'll be a regular day, I'll wake up at around 4, I'll check my Snapchat news, and all of a sudden I'll learn that the moon landing was completely fabricated. Now I can't get in the shower until at least 8, I have to investigate further. I think what's so appealing about conspiracy theories to everyday people like me is that it offers up this weird alternate reality where things are crazy, but not crazy enough to affect your day-to-day life. People get even more interested when you're talking about celebrity conspiracy theories. I mean, you read and hear so much about celebrities that you think you know them, and when that sense of familiarity is shaken, it's always a thrill. That might be an over-exaggeration. That's why today I picked out some of my favorite conspiracy theories and I decided to explore them with you guys and try and understand some of the mentality behind them. And just so we're clear, I'm not trying to approach this with any professional psychology in mind. I think I'm just going to try and tackle why I personally would buy into theories like this. Also, I'm not trying to knock anybody who believes conspiracy theories like this, I'm just trying to poke fun at some of the ones I believe are especially absurd. This is the excessive world of celebrity conspiracies. The first type of conspiracy theory I want to cover are the ones that explain why celebrities are so talented. Things like, Michael Jackson isn't actually a good singer, he was just castrated when he was a little boy so that his voice would stay high. I personally enjoy these because I love the idea that it's not a lack of drive or talent that's keeping me from the spotlight. Everyone else is just cheating. The best example of this by far is the theory that Nicki Minaj is not actually a skilled and talented female rapper. She's just Jay-Z. Nicki Minaj is just Jay-Z. They're the same person. People believe this conspiracy theory because if you pitch shift Nicki Minaj's voice down, it sounds like Jay-Z's voice. Here's an example.
Anyway, Britney, why they so jelly since you teamed up with me? Tell him they my son, yup, tell him I'm a pick-me. Anyway, Bradell, what's that? I don't know, but
anyway, Britney, why they so jelly since you teamed up with me? Tell him they my son, yup, tell him I'm a pick-me. Anyway, Bradell, what's that? Oh.
That sounds so much like Jay-Z that there's little to no other evidence that supports this huge theory. I looked for a while and I couldn't find anything other than the pitch shift and a vague idea that Jay-Z wanted to conquer both the male and female rap game. Those two facts alone were good enough for most people to just subscribe to the theory. But let's really dive into the logic of this theory. It's 2004. Jay-Z is probably at the top of his game. He's sitting back with a bunch of friends and he just breathes out, "Man, I am the king of the game." "Well," says someone in the room, we'll call him Gerald, and we'll say that he has a penchant for sowing discontent. "The king of the male game." Then Jay-Z starts thinking, "Yeah, I guess there is a separate male and female rap game, and I'm not really the king unless I'm the king of both." Then Jay-Z, in what can only be described as a burst of insecure brilliance, pitch shifts his voice, realizes with the recent retirement of Lauryn Hill, he has a chance to hire an actress, put out some mixtapes, get discovered by Lil Wayne, put out an album, and become the top of both the male and female rap game, securing his place as the GOAT forever. It would be easy for me to talk about how the underlying drive for this theory is probably sexism, and trust me, I'm sure that more than a few subscribers to the theory just think the only way that you can be a good female rapper is to be a boy. But I think there's a far more interesting reasoning that we can apply to this, and a couple of theories like it that I want to talk about right now. I think a good reason people want to believe that two rappers are actually one, or that a singer had to genetically modify themselves to be able to sing good, or even that every celebrity is part of the Illuminati silently controlling the scenes, is that it makes us feel better about not being able to break into the industry and be famous ourselves. It's kind of a comforting thought to think that even these great musicians had to cheat to get famous. It lessens the blow to our self-esteem if we never are. It's a nice thought, even if it does kind of sound like a plot out of 30 Rock.
I could talk about how the moon is a spy satellite put there by Oprah and Minister Farrakhan, and not the Minister Farrakhan you're thinking of.
The next bunch of theories I want to cover are those that revolve around celebrity deaths. Tupac is actually alive, Eminem is actually dead, Michael Jackson both died years before the press released it, and is still alive to this day. For some reason, conspiracy theorists think that Hollywood likes it better when the alive are dead and when the dead are alive. This is one of the many reasons why I've decided to fake my death in front of Bob Iger. I'm going to the big leagues, baby. One of the more widely believed of these theories is that Avril Lavigne, a famous pop singer, actually committed suicide in 2003. The theory is that after Lavigne's grandfather tragically passed away, she was sent down a depression spiral that eventually resulted in her suicide. The label, rather than just inform the public, hires Melissa Vandella, a friend of Lavigne's who looks very similar to her, to act as a double. They give her plastic surgery and she continues to perform music as Lavigne, hinting in some of the songs about Lavigne's death. Some of these hints can be found in songs like My Happy Ending with lyrics like this.
Dad.
This theory gained a lot of traction, especially on Twitter, and a lot of people started adding evidence to the theory as it grew bigger and bigger. People noticed that in the album art for 2004's Under My Skin, Lavigne is depicted in black and white with a red X over her, and her name is in all black text, all seemingly hinting towards her death. Side by side started cropping up of Lavigne back then before her supposed death, and Melissa Vandella now when she's posing as Avril Lavigne. This is a picture of Avril Lavigne with Melissa painted on her knuckles, so that's evidence somehow. It all paints the same eerie picture. If you just have all of the pieces right there and explained to you in as many articles as I read. The originator of the theory, a Brazilian fan site, actually did go through a lot of trouble and put a lot of thought into the conspiracy. For example, he found those lyrics, he has pictures of Lavigne and compares them to pictures of the body double and shows all the differences. The timeline's pretty solid, when he admitted that he made it all up to prove a point. Yeah, apparently the whole theory was just made up so that the creator could make a point about how easy it is for conspiracy theories to look true. And despite him literally saying that in the original post, people still flock to this theory. And I have to say, why wouldn't they? I mean, Avril Lavigne is less punk than she used to be, and that must mean she's dead. I do have to wonder why Avril Lavigne is the big star whose death has to be hidden by the label. I mean, no offense to Avril Lavigne or any of her fans, but I just wonder who chooses which stars' deaths get to be shown to the public and whose stars' deaths have to be kept secret. Like, why is Tupac irrelevant enough that his death is released to the public, but Avril Lavigne is so essential that they have to hire a body double because the world just couldn't handle it if she died? Outside of the aforementioned thrill you get from thinking the world around you isn't what it seems, I believe the mentality behind this theory lies within the idea of change. Avril Lavigne's sound changed significantly from when she first started, and the same goes for other people with similar theories like Michael Jackson or Eminem. Change is something that I think a lot of people have trouble with, so it makes sense to me that people would believe when their favorite artist changes that it's some elaborate conspiracy rather than the artist just evolving their sound. So at the end of the day, maybe it's better to think that your favorite artist didn't change, they just died. Okay, let's get to the crazy stuff. The final section of conspiracies are the celebrities altering world events conspiracies. Things like Britney Spears only had psychotic breaks to distract from the problems of the Bush administration, or Stanley Kubrick helped fake the moon landing, or everybody is part of the Illuminati. I like these conspiracies a lot. Like, especially if they're well explained. I like imagining that they're all real and how fucking bananas that would make the world we live in. Take, for example, this conspiracy theory surrounding the death of John Lennon, which is an already creepy story without the conspiracy theories. See, the actual story of John Lennon's death without the conspiracy is that he was shot 4 times in the back by Mark David Chapman. Chapman was a lunatic Beatles fan who got frustrated with Lennon's lifestyle, so he found him and killed him for it. He waited at the scene to be arrested. It is a truly disturbing and heartbreaking story. And somebody read that story, and they read about all this stuff, and they read about a guy who took inspiration from Catcher in the Rye, and who had obvious mental problems. They read about that guy and said, nah, fuck that. It doesn't make any sense. It must have been Stephen King. Yeah, Stephen King did it. And Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan told him to. Okay, so to start, I'm assuming the bulk of this theory comes from the fact that Stephen King looks a lot like Mark David Chapman. I mean, that's how the original blog that made the theory makes the connection between Stephen King and the murder, that he and Mark David Chapman look a lot alike, and that Stephen King writes about murder. Which, okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. I guess let's start with the connection he made. A lot of similar theories make connections between celebrities and what they do and similar events happening at the time. Britney Spears was having psychotic breaks and the Bush administration was messing up. Stanley Kubrick had just filmed 2001: A Space Odyssey, and then we landed on the moon a year later. There are connections being made between celebrities' actions and world events. But this theory's damning evidence is that Stephen King, a horror novelist, writes about murder. That and they have similar faces. That's the damning evidence behind this theory, is that Stephen King makes allusions to the murder in his book, but the guy writes books about murder. Of course, there's gonna be some similarities between murder and murder. Secondly, if you're secretly working for the president and you murder people for the president, don't you think the worst cover in the world is to go write about that murder? Also, yeah, the theory suggests that President Nixon and President Reagan had something to do with it. They say that they wanted Lennon dead because he had leftist ideas and he was getting too popular and affecting the masses. So, they sent code to King through the newspaper. I don't even know how to begin talking about that one. The guy lists a lot of evidence to support his theory, and while none of it really convinced me, he had a contingency for that. He just started insulting me. He calls me, and anyone else who happens to disagree with him, temporarily sick and weak and media controlled. Which is true of me, so I have a hard time disputing it, and I guess that means that I can't really dispute anything else he says. It's hard for me to take a swing at the psychology here. I guess it's just a little bit too wild for me, but if I had to guess why people would subscribe to this theory, I think it has something to do with authority. See, there's this inherent mistrust of authority because I think it's a well-known fact that the government and higher-ups all kind of lie to us about certain things, and so it's easy to look and make connections like this and think, oh, this could be the next big government cover-up. So I think it makes sense why people would look into theories like this and buy into them. Even if they're wild, we're always on the lookout for the next thing we're being lied to about. Even though there's a perfectly reasonable and equally as depressing reason behind the Lennon murder, I guess I can understand why one might think the government is trying to cover up. I don't get this one. I don't get this one at all, but I love it. I love it so much. There's one thing I could take away from all of this, it's that the conspiracy version of Hollywood could really use a manager. All these theories describe really over-the-top reactions to problems that could be pretty easily solved. I get less of a mass conspiracy vibe from all of them, and more a children trying to hide a mistake from their parents vibe. Jay-Z, I told you to share the rap games, and Steven, there's no need to hurt John, just tell the presidents to play nice, and Melissa, stop pretending to be Avril. She's dead. All these Hollywood cover-ups just seem so inconsequential to my day-to-day life, and if I ever found out that any of them were true, I think my reaction would be, okay, so what? They certainly don't affect my life, they barely affect the world around us, they're just not groundbreaking lies. It's less like finding out that your girlfriend cheated on you, and more like finding out that your friend roller skates on the weekends. Like, okay, that's weird, it's stupid, I hate you now, but nothing about my life changes. However, if any of these conspiracies are true, Hollywood, give me a call. I'd love to come in and start implementing new techniques for handling stressful situations. I'll start by taking all the celebrities who are secretly alive and making them play all the celebrities who are secretly dead. That's 2 birds and 1 stone. So yeah, just send me a message through the newspapers. Or get your shit together. Alright, well that's all the time I have for today, but if you liked hearing about conspiracy theories like this, I've linked some of my favorite videos about conspiracy theories in the description below. If you like seeing my face, I have a whole YouTube channel full of it. They're mostly sketches though, so if you liked specifically this kind of video, comment below and I'll try and make more of them. Thanks for watching, goodbye.